eFootball can be very easy once you get a few things right. Today, I'm going to give you 7 tips to build attacks easily in eFootball using examples from real PvP matches against tough opponents. Tip number 1, use the pass button to open up your opponent. The first thing you need to understand is knowing when to use the pass button and when to use the throughball button. That's the foundation of everything in this video. Most eFootball players have completely abandoned the pass button. You'll see that I use the pass button to build my attacks. It's safer, it keeps the ball moving, and it helps you control the rhythm. If there's no space, don't force anything. Just use the pass button to play it to the nearest teammate, or even recycle the ball and wait. When there's a defender directly in front of your attacker, a through ball is always a bad idea. The lane is blocked. In that situation, the pass button is always the better option. Play to feet, hold the ball, or do a quick 1-2. But when your attacker has space in front of him, when he can actually run into that space, that's when you switch to the through ball button. That's the perfect moment. Don't spam it. Wait for the lane, wait for the run, then through. So the main idea of this first section is simple. Use the pass button to build your attacks and open up space, then use the through button to exploit the spaces. Tip number 2, learn to dribble and keep possession. The easiest way to create chances in eFootball is by dribbling. You don't need fancy skill moves, just 2 simple techniques that anyone can learn. First is momentum dribbling. As the ball gets to you, release the dash button. Then watch your opponent's momentum and use it against him. Once he overcommits and a gap opens, tap dash again and explode into the space. Dribbling usually leads to easy chances. This also works beautifully in the midfield in the middle of the pitch. Instead of forcing a risky pass and losing the ball, you can slow the game down, keep possession, and control the tempo. Keeping possession in the middle helps you concede fewer goals because you stop giving the opponent easy transitions. It lets you keep your rhythm and build your attack properly. The second one doesn't really have a name, but it's basically a sharp first touch. As the ball is coming to you and you see a defender closing in, release the dash button, and then double tap dash in the opposite direction just before your player controls the ball. Doing this sends your first touch away from the opponent and completely takes him out of the play, leaving you wide open to attack. It's extremely simple, very effective, and you can use it anywhere on the pitch. These 2 techniques help you beat opponents without relying on complex skill moves. And if you want a full video breaking down all the dribbling techniques I use, just go to the comments and type dribbling, I'll make it happen. Tip number 3, use 1-2s the right way. The best time to use a 1-2 in eFootball is when your opponent's defender is applying pressure on your attacker and there is clear space behind him. If the defender is tight, stepping out, or trying to close the ball, and you see open space behind him, that is the perfect moment. The key is recognizing this situation early. You don't wait until after you've played the first pass. Once you see the defender pressing forward and you notice the space behind him, you should already decide in your mind that you are going to do a 1-2. So when the ball reaches your attacker, the sequence has to be one smooth motion. First pass, then immediately the through pass. 2 quick movements, almost like they are one action. For the 1-2 to work, you need to execute it fast. The moment you play the first pass, you go straight to the second pass with the through button. If the angle is wrong, then you adjust by turning slightly, but everything still has to be quick. Also remember, if the defender is not close to your attacker, or if the defender is running backwards instead of pressing, the 1-2 will not work. 1-2s rely on the defender stepping out. That's what creates the gap behind him. The most effective 1-2s always start with a normal pass, and then the second pass is the through ball into the space. This gives your striker a far better chance of breaking behind the defense than when you try to force a through pass while the defender is still goal side and covering him. Tip number 4, create triangles. To combine easily in eFootball, you need to understand triangles. And the first step is setting up your team in a way that naturally creates triangles on the tactics board. I always encourage setups that position your players in natural triangles. It doesn't have to be a specific formation. The important thing is that whenever you look at your midfield and attack, you can clearly see 3-man shapes forming. Those shapes are what allow quick passing, quick combinations, and easy progression into dangerous areas. But this second part is even more important. You have to mentally switch yourself into recognizing those triangles during gameplay. It's not just about having your team arranged properly, you must actively spot the triangle every time you receive the ball. If you look at these clips, you'll notice something. My players are almost always forming little three-man shapes around the ball. And once you start noticing your triangles, your decisions become much easier. So the moment you pass the ball to one player, you should already know your next two options. From that player, you can pass back to the guy who sent the ball, or pass sideways forward to the third man completing the triangle. This is how you keep the ball moving fast, avoid pressure, and create openings without forcing anything. It takes practice, you have to train your eyes to recognize the triangle quickly. But once the habit forms, your passing becomes smoother, your combinations become cleaner, and defenders get pulled out of shape without you even doing anything fancy. Tip number 5, don't be afraid to pass back. Something you don't see very often in eFootball these days is players passing the ball backwards to build the attack. Pay attention to the following clips, you'll notice something very important. Whenever you pass the ball back, your opponent doesn't even have to press you. The defenders automatically start adjusting, stepping forward, trying to reorganize their shape. And that tiny adjustment, that little movement, is what creates space behind them. You don't need to dribble, you don't need to force a through ball, you just pass backwards with the pass button, keep the ball safe, and allow the opponent's defensive line to walk into a weaker position. So passing the ball back is actually one of the simplest and most effective ways to create space in eFootball. It slows the game down on your terms, forces the defense to move, and opens up lanes for you to attack shortly after. Most players ignore this, but if you start using it, you'll immediately notice how much easier it becomes to find space and break lines. Tip number 6, use your fullbacks in attack. A fullback joining the attack is honestly one of the most difficult things for your opponent to defend against. The moment your fullback starts making that forward run, you automatically create an overload on the wing. And when there's an overload, you will almost always have an extra man. Once that happens, your opponent becomes helpless, because they now have to decide whether to follow your winger or follow your fullback. Either way, one of them becomes free. And fullbacks in this game have some of the best crossing stats, the best passing angles, and some of the simplest lanes to exploit. But most players just leave them sitting at the back. If you watch my gameplay, you'll see how often I use my fullbacks to break defensive shapes. Sometimes I don't even have to dribble, I just pass wide to my fullback, let him overlap, and suddenly the whole defense is stretched. And once the defense stretches, you can play inside, you can cross, you can cut back, everything becomes easier. So yeah, start using your fullbacks. It's one of the easiest and most reliable ways to create danger, create overloads, and score more goals. Stop leaving them behind. Let them join the attack, you will immediately see a difference. Tip number 7, buy time for your player's run. Passing the ball before your player finishes his run is one of the fastest ways to kill your attack. Your job is to buy just enough time for him to get into the dangerous space before you release the pass. Now, here's what to do in the two situations you'll face the most. 1. When you're facing forward and not under heavy pressure. Slow down. Release the dash button, keep the ball, and wait for your runner to enter the space you want. Once he completes the run, play the pass. This simple patience creates a clean, high-quality chance instead of forcing a bad ball. 2. When the defender is tight on your back. Take your first touch moving slightly toward your own goal. This gives you a moment to shield the ball and allows your runner to overlap you. Once he passes your line and enters the gap, turn and release the ball into space. The key in both situations is patience, timing, and reading how your attack is developing. Once you master this, creating chances in eFootball becomes much easier. Subscribe if you want more tutorials like this. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.